Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast. On this week's show, we'll be talking about the great Derby win. We'll be talking about Luke Shaw, and we will be previewing Sunday's fixture against West Ham. Today, I'm joined by Nigel and a special guest appearance from Erroll.
Hello, everybody.
He is.
Good afternoon. So, without further ado, let's go straight into Sunday's game and the good Derby win against City. If I can start with you, Nigel, what were your expectations going in and were you amazed at the start we made?
Right, so let me just tell you from now that I predicted we were going to get hammered. Now, let me just put that in some context. I have this uncanny knack of whatever I predict, the opposite happens. So there's a little bit of reverse psychology going on here. I thought if I just say we're going to get battered, somehow we might turn on and bring some kind of performance. What a result!
I think I just enjoyed the game. I mean, if I can bring you in, please, Erroll, and just ask you, when you got up on Sunday, what were your expectations and how did you feel?
To be honest, I was flip-flopping a bit. I was thinking sort of round Friday, I was thinking this is one of them records where we did it with Arsenal. We seem to be able to do these record breakers. But sort of over the weekend, I don't know, I was feeling, I don't know if we're going to win this game. But then I thought, we've got this canny knack of going away and getting these results. So I was thinking, I don't think we get beat. It'll probably be a stalemate draw. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be as good as a game as it was. So in the end, good derby. I thought both teams played well. But at the end of it, we got the result that we dearly needed.
I think it was interesting because I don't know if any of you heard what Ole said after the game. And what he said after the game in his press interview was that he'd noticed over City's run of 21 games undefeated, they started games really strongly. And that they scored in a lot of the games that they'd won on this run. They'd scored in the first 15 minutes. And he thought it was quite important for United to start, on the front foot. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but when they kicked off, they didn't keep possession. They actually kicked it out of touch to get into City's half straight away. And that's where we got the goal. Nigel, did you notice that United had started on the front foot straight away? They were 5 yards ahead with the defence straight away.
Well, absolutely, it was just from the moment the whistle blew, it was a completely different team, different mindset from the previous week. Now, I actually know a City fan, and I was bantering in big style after the game, and he said, we talked about the last game, and I was just going mad at the fact that we were playing so terribly, which I thought would give City the confidence just to come and try and battle us. He was worried when he watched that last game and I saw it was playing. He thought within ourselves, he thought, these lads are saving themselves for the derby. And that never occurred to me before. I actually thought maybe we were playing within ourselves. I thought, you know what, let's take this game easy because we really want to win the derby game. Maybe not, I don't know. I think United try to win most games, but he was certainly convinced as a City fan that we were definitely kind of reserving ourselves or holding something back for the derby game. But I mean, what a contrast in mindset. Everybody was up for it. And of course, it now makes us more frustrated because if you can be up for the derby games, then why are you not up for all the games? Why are you not trying to make history this year? This is the year we can make history. But of course, we've let it go now because all too often this season, at times we should have really been concentrating and having that mentality. We've kind of maybe just lost the plot in some of these games. What do you think?
I think it's an interesting point because I'd like Erroll to come in on this because watching the Crystal Palace game, United aren't suited to play teams that sit in. Whereas I think we're more suited to play City. Teams that will come out, they'll attack us, which then gives us the space. I mean, Erroll, having watched the Crystal Palace game and coming into Sunday's game, Did you feel that United were more suited to take on City and beat them?
Yeah, I think so. What you've got to look at is, again, you've both said it, we play well that teams come on to us. But in the long term, is that good enough? As a team that we're supposed to be, we should be able to beat all these teams, and if more so. I mean, Palace, to be fair, is always a tough away game. I mean, they beat us at home this season, but it's never an easy game. And most of the time, they'll give most teams a hard game there. But you've got to find a way to break these teams down. And at the moment, we're really struggling. And yet we say we've got one of the best attacks in the league. So why are we struggling to beat these teams?
Would you say, and I go back to Nigel here, the problem is when we do go away to Crystal Palace and the West Bromwich Albions, it's because we've got two defensive midfielders. We've got like Fred, McTominay, or Fred, or Matic in there. Should we be sacrificing one of those for a more creative midfielder, Nigel?
It's a very interesting question, mate. And it's funny. The more I think about it, the more I think, I don't know, are we maybe sometimes letting our front players off the hook? We're keeping clean sheets. So yeah, defensively we're doing a great job because we're keeping clean sheets. And okay, yes, I know we have the extra man in the midfield to protect the back four, and it's not glamorous. It's not, and it does frustrate us. But the reality is we're keeping clean sheets. So we can only, that's all the defense can do is keep the clean sheet. So sometimes you really got to think about, well, the onus is now on the front players to really kind of try and unlock these defense. So Liverpool last year did it with ease. City, for the last 5 years, know how to unlock a defense. These teams don't only sit deep against us, they sit deep against all of the top six, but they find a way of unlocking them.
I totally agree there. I mean, for me, I think the game plan worked because we got such an early goal and it forced City to come out and United could sit deep and then break on them. And I think, like, if you go back, to the last time we played at the Etihad, we played the same game. I mean, Ole does know how to play Guardiola. He knows how to play the system. Not so much at Old Trafford, but when we're away from home, when it's their onus to come on us. Now, I mean, we there's no point in debating the penalty because we know it was definitely a penalty. But what I would say to you was just after the penalty, and because we were playing on the front foot, we nearly went 2-0 ahead, didn't we? With Shaw's goal. Now, if I bring in you there, Erroll, the first 20 minutes, United were playing 5 yards up front. And do you think that it suited them much better to do that?
Definitely. We've seen in many games this season when they sort of played out 5 to 10 yards higher up, the football seems to be better. You can't always sit in and expect to win games on the break because teams will just sit in at the same sort of value as we do. But when you look at the City game, he does seem to have this knack to beat Pep. I mean, the first derby this year was an absolute stinker. And both teams, yeah, it was. And both teams looked like they were just frightened to lose. And I think there's a mentality there with some of the managers. They'd rather go and get a draw than take a loss. And you're thinking, well, at some point, you've got to break this barrier down and say, look, lads, we need to win. Would Fergie do that? No, we'd throw on attacking players. I mean, we've seen him have 4 strikers on the pitch and just go gung-ho. And sometimes it doesn't work, but you think, at least we had a goal there rather than just trying to sort of, drag it out and get the point. Points aren't good enough to us, and we can see that. All these draws that we dropped against the so-called lesser clubs cost us, actually, we're not saying we were going to win the league, but to actually push City further and further till the end of the season, this could be over sooner than we think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point you make because Crystal Palace was our 7th 0-0 draw of the season. 7th. So if you take that into content, I think the other thing that I wanted to make on Sunday's game, if I could, is obviously Henderson went in there. And obviously we know that De Gea is away at the moment. It's not that he's been dropped from form, it's because obviously his partner's had a child and so Henderson's in between for the next 6 games. Was there a difference with Henderson being there? And do you think that the back four looks a lot more comfortable, Nigel?
Put some respect on his name. Henderson, what did I tell you about that guy? Did I not tell you Henderson is the man? I am Team Henderson, bruv. So all this talk about, against, the game against PSG, that wouldn't have happened if the game was in net. That's how you keep in a United goal. Look at the way the whole defense had confidence, all playing as a unit, all talking to each other. And the pass, I mean, he totally deserves the assist for that goal. It just reminiscent of Schmeichel just launching the ball out and off goes Shaw. What a great goal. I was nothing short of delighted for the lad. I think he's brilliant. I think he's going to be brilliant. I think we're seeing our future goalkeeper.
Now, before we move on, I think it's important because it's been a big debate over, the last few games, and it's the Marshall debate. Now, I think a lot of us have criticised him. There are, like we say, Nigel, there's Marshall in camps and there's Marshall out camps. Now, on Sunday, Erroll, I've got to say, I thought he was absolutely, apart from maybe not getting a goal, I thought he led the line magnificently, Erroll.
Absolutely. You can see he's been shot of confidence this season. Last season, he was our player of the year by a mile. He was fantastic. The sort of chemistry between him and Bruno and Rashford was outstanding. They were scoring for fun. They were having great games, great performances. And he's just really underwhelmed this season. And you can't figure him out. But there's one theory I have on it, and it goes back to when we brought in Ibrahimovic and he took his number 9 shirt and he seemed to just go into this shell. And then they brought Cavani in and they've took him out in the middle. Do these things affect him? You don't know because he doesn't speak about them. Sunday, he turned up and he led the line fantastically well. And at times, he was turning their plays and they couldn't cope with him. Unfortunately, he didn't get the goal that he should have got. And that's what he's lacking. He's got to get his finishing more clinical. And I think we say the same with Rashford at times. Also, what you've got to look at United is we don't create that many chances for the strikers. So they might only get that one chance in the game. And if you don't score it, that's all they remember. They only remember the misses. So a lot of the time, he's getting heated criticism. And I think at times it's a bit unfair on him because I think there's actually been games in the season, even though he's been down on confidence, but I think he's actually led the line well today. But because he's not getting the goals, he doesn't get the plaudits for it.
I don't think it's any surprise that Cavani's out and all of a sudden he looks apart again. I think that's all he needs. I just think he needs an arm on his shoulder, just to be told you're the main man. And that just does something to him psychologically. And I think when he thinks he's not the main man, and maybe that's an immaturity thing that maybe he needs to just get rid of. But he played great, didn't he? I cannot believe he missed that chance. Honestly, and the thing was, because of the way City play, I was actually dreading him. When he missed that chance, I was like, oh no, this is bad. Because all it takes is for one of those chances to go in that they had, and it's squeaky bum times. I'm like, you needed to score that goal. We needed that 3-goal cushion.
Absolutely.
So the last 50 minutes of that game was a nightmare for me, I tell you.
It was, because I remember I was there last year and at the derby, and Otamendi got the header, and it was a nervous last few minutes. It really was. But the good thing was, as we're moving on, Manchester's still red, and it'll always be red. They'll always be red. Erroll, going back to Shaw's second goal, if I can. The second goal, Shaw's made it 2-0. How much pleasure did that give you? And do you think that, it's not getting as much credit as it deserves, that goal?
Well, being a former left-back, I loved it. And for all those who call him a fat kid, you need to check yourselves.
Exactly.
One of the fittest players who's playing well. And when you sort of look at where he was and the kind of injury he had, the stick he got from Mourinho put him rock bottom. He's fought back well at a top club. And for me, without Bruno, he'd be our player of the season, without a doubt. He's playing back to the season where he got the horrific leg break at PSV. And for him to get a goal in a derby, plus it was his first away goal, that's just got to give even more confidence going forward. I mean, the throw out from the keeper, fantastic spot. Shaw then does the hard work. He makes the run. He skips past the first player, lays it off to Rashford. Rashford then actually makes the right decision, lays it back in.
For once.
All right, some people are saying it was a scuff shot. It doesn't matter. It goes in off your backside. They all count. So pleased for the lad. He's playing so well for us, and he does get. He's underrated. For me, there's a lot of people who say he's out of position. He does this wrong. He's an attacking fullback. If he doesn't go forward, you say, why is he not attacking? So sometimes he just can't win. It's a modern game now. Fullbacks are attacking fullbacks. It's not years ago where defenders defended, attackers attacked, the midfielders ran up and down the pitch. It's a totally different game. So for me, fantastic for the lad, and I hope he just carries on playing well for us.
And I think that brings a point that, under Mourinho, he was a player that was totally undervalued, or he was a player that, Mourinho seems to always pick on a player in a dressing room, doesn't he? And it seemed to be, the guy that he picked on. So psychologically, Nigel, what effect do you think that had on him? Because, he's coming back from a horrific leg break. He works his way back into the team. And then all of a sudden, there's a game where he gets man of the match. And Mourinho says to the press, well, he wouldn't have got that if I wasn't coaching him through the game. Was that fair, Nigel?
It was absolutely outrageous. I remember at the time just watching it and just being furious and thinking, what have we become as United? That's not how we do. Everything is kept inside. Why is Mourinho doing? Well, we know why he's doing it, because he's always been this way. But you can't do that, not at Old Trafford. And that's our job. We chuck the players under the bus. That's what fans do. We don't want you doing it. So I was absolutely furious. And then the sad fact is, even so many years later, some fans still think the same thing. That is a fat guy, and he doesn't look after himself, and it's absolute nonsense. I love the fact that not only did he take on a couple of players, but he actually left them. As he was driven, he was actually leaving them in their wake.
Yeah,
not bad for a big lad, eh?
The thing for me was, in the first half, obviously after we scored the first goal, if Rashford had laid on the ball properly, we probably would have got a second. And he was unlucky with the shot, because obviously it was a shot with his right foot, and he's just hit it. Now, for me, the left side's totally balanced, with Rashford and with Shaw. Now,
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Well, moving on to another point, obviously going into Sunday's game against West Ham, where I think the point was made by Gary Neville the other week that if you finish second, you want to finish a very good second.
Good point. Yeah.
And I think it's important that we go into Sunday night's game, and we've got to win. West Ham, obviously they beat Leeds. They beat Leeds last night, and in fairness, David Moyes' team, he's put together a good team there, doesn't he? For you, Nigel, to me, Sunday's papers will be full of, did David Moyes have enough time? Did he, was he the right man? And I think, what do you think about it?
Yes, he definitely was given enough time. I know he wasn't the right man, not for United. It's as simple as that. Nothing more to. I'm not going to waste another second on that.
Fair enough.
With regards to the game, I actually like West Ham. I like watching them. They're good on the eye, aren't they? And I love little Antonio up front. I think he's a cool little forward. Obviously, Lingard's doing well. Lingard doing well for them. And now, there's a caveat to that, because I don't know if we've discussed it already, but because teams don't see West Ham as a threat, teams don't open up and play against West Ham, so there's obviously more space. So Lingard is tailor-made for a team like West Ham, where it's not United, where he's got his face with the deep line all the time. He's actually got the opportunity to express himself. So Lingard's just doing what Lingard's always done, really. He's a great little footballer. We're pleased for him. And I'm glad that this is obviously helping him as well in his career. But obviously he's not playing, so, to take him out of it, it'd be interesting to see. Declan Rice talks a lot, actually. People say, he's really confident. It's good to hear somebody expressing himself, not in a normal, boring, media-trained way, but actually saying what he really thinks. And maybe says a bit too much. He's a bit cocky, I think. But I don't know. He might have already written our team talk for us, because he does talk quite a lot, doesn't he? He kind of fancies himself. But that said, it's a good team. It's a good on the idea, good game. But I totally expect us, if we're serious, and we want a good second place, to actually go and do the job there.
Going back to Erroll, did you think he was given enough time, and do you think he was the right man?
It's a strange one, because it was he was allegedly touted by Ferguson, and you're thinking it's the Scottish connection. The problem with Moyes was the moment he came out and said, we aspire to be like Manchester City, he was gone. You can never come out and say that about your neighbours. I mean,
Exactly.
as good as City are, and they are a good team, they're not as big as club as us, and they won't like it. They never will be. They're a manufactured club from 2008. We make our money, but we also are own victims of our own club because of the way we're run by the board. But for Moyes, it does seem harsh on him, but it wasn't. He made the wrong sort of ideas about how to run the team and how the club was run, so he had to go. So for me, no, it was, he had to go. It was time.
I think for me, going back to that season when he was in charge, I mean, we got beat 4-1 at the Etihad. We got beat, comprehensively by City at Old Trafford. Got beat comprehensively by Liverpool at Old Trafford. I think the very fact that, there were rumours at the time that he was, the first training session the players took with him, they just thought, well, is that all you've got? And I thought his credibility was always, going to be asked about his credibility. I think the problem was that none of the top managers wanted to come because they were the guy that followed Ferguson and they kind of knew what they were up against. The other point that I would make was where they'd actually made an error is because as a manager, he's a pragmatist. I mean, he'll turn up on Sunday and he'll virtually play a back 6 or 7. And that's not the United way, is it?
No, I mean, going quickly back onto Moyes, there's a couple of points I just thought of was he told Ferdinand to watch videos of Jagielka. Get out.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's a Champions League winner, mate. Get out.
Exactly.
I think he got it all in the wrong direction. Now, fair play to him. He's got West Ham looking like, and it's always a tough game, West Ham home or away. But you can't come into the club. And also, the biggest factor, he got rid of all the backroom staff. It's key to keep members in there who know the philosophy of the club. And he tried to bring the Everton philosophy to United. Sorry, mate. Get out.
Out.
Get out that door.
Get out.
Get out.
I think the other thing that you spoke about there, Nigel, was like Declan Rice. Now, there are big rumours going on that Declan Rice is United's major transfer target for the coming up season. Do you think he suits United, and do you think he'd settle in well at United?
Okay, so he's the type of player that would suit United. But I go back to this I like confidence. I think confidence is a good thing. But there's a thin line between confidence and, when he begins to believe your own headlines there. And I just listened to his last interview, in fact, yesterday, actually, on the win. And the team have won. And he's like, oh, we played crap. And, all that kind of thing. I'm thinking, are you saying that because you mean it? Or are you saying that because it sounds great? And I'm like, so he's definitely the type of player that we need. I'm not sure if I like him at United. I don't know whether he would fit in with the United team.
I mean, going to you, Erroll, with like bringing Declan Rice in, would you say he would come in to replace, say, Fred, and is an upgrade on Fred?
Absolutely. If you look at he is an out-and-out CDM. Fred isn't.
Yeah.
Same with McTominay, the box-to-box players. If you watch him, he gets skipped past too easily. You won't get that with Declan Rice. Declan Rice, if need be, he'll bring them down. He'll bring them down in the right areas. Fred's got this real bad habit of giving away free kicks in and around the edge of the box. And, sooner or later, it's going to cost. I mean, I love Fred. I think his tenacity, his endeavour, his work rate, 100%. You can't knock him. But is he a first-team United player or a bench United player? And personally, if you've got the key players in, as in a top-level CDM, Fred's on the bench for me. It sounds harsh because I love the guy, but he'd be on the bench. So if you bring in somebody like Declan Rice and you keep Pogba goes about his business in the way we know he can because he's got that security.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have that because Fred's too scatty. He's all over the place. Same with McTominay. And if you watch McTominay, he does this real strange little bunny hop when he goes to tackle. What's that for? What are you doing? That's where you get skipped past. So what United needed, I'll put this to you now. Guys. Right, as we're talking briefly on players you're looking at. Would you buy and virtually use your transfer kit, as we're being told, a Haaland who comes in and gets you your goals, but then you're looking at what would you do with Greenwood, Marshall, Rashford? Or would you go, which I think is more important, top-level fast centre-half and a top-level CDM? What do you do?
I think, firstly, if I can answer this question, with Haaland, I think we all kind of know that there's a clause in his contract where not this season, but the season after, he can go for 51 million. So I think most clubs will be, especially with the pandemic and everything that's going on, most clubs haven't got a transfer kit, even though United made 33.6 million during the pandemic, which just shows you the money machine that they are. That's one to look at, not this season, but the season after. Yeah. Secondly, for me, it's more important that we get a CDM and another centre half in. And maybe, I think it's come to the point where maybe you're going to have to say with Bali, unfortunately, your injury record is just not good enough. You know, I don't think he's played 100 games for United. I think he's played less than 60 games. So that's where I go from there. I mean, what do you think, Nigel?
No. Well, it's a great question, but we need the goals. I want an out-and-out goal scorer. I want a ruthless. I know I'm gonna get 25 goals plus a season. I want Haaland, and he's just ferocious, man. When I watch him, it's like we need that guy. And okay, so the defense isn't great, but the defense, is we're still in second place. Okay, it's a dodgy season, and I know we can't really take much from that, but it's we're not conceding goals. So I mean, I know we're set up not to concede goals, and that's part of the frustration. But well, yeah, I mean, if I'm in charge of the purse, I get it. Of course, you want a defender, a CDM, and a striker. But I watched him the other day. I know we lost against Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
But his goals are just great, man. I'm like, this guy is just such a great footballer.
He's a machine.
He's a machine, isn't he? I mean, there's nothing to worry about. And okay, Rashford he's got a choice to make. Marshall's got a choice to make. And Greenwood's got a choice to make. This is the level.
But this is the problem.
That's the level. Because, and you're playing here at the moment. And so we're going to show you what the level is. And, in training, get Haaland in. I want Haaland.
But let me put this to you. And this is the way that the board's going to work. Yeah. The board are going to say, we've just made 33.6 million during a pandemic. The fans could come in soon. On Sunday, we were out Pogba and we were without Cavani. Yeah. Which is probably and De Gea. So the three highest earners in the squad weren't there. They still went to the top of the league and they beat them in their own backyard.
Yeah.
Is there much work to do with this squad? And our board. Our board.
Yeah.
It's not like you're holding the purse strings, Nigel. And if you are, can I have a tenner? Do you know what I mean? But the question is, will they?
We know our board, don't we? So we know that, they're specialists in failure in terms of transfer markets. They're the best at it. That's what we're number one at. Failures in the transfer market. But it's a great point you make. Our top three players weren't playing, and we still beat who are going to be the champions of
champions
of
elect
Premiership. Yeah. So you keep Pogba and you buy Haaland, and that's it. That's all I got to say.
That's a fair point. And you, Erroll?
I think if you keep Pogba, you don't get the midfielder. So then you say, right, let's get a good centre back. And there's quite a few out there. You're looking at Varane. Is it Konate at Sevilla? Guande, sorry. Alaba's in there, but we reckon he's going elsewhere.
He's going to Madrid.
Well, have they got the money to get him?
Well, no, I think he's already open negotiations with Madrid, and Madrid are quite happy with, because it's going to be a free transfer basically, and he's ruled out coming to England. So, you know,
Right.
you sort of like read between the lines, and you know, there's no smoke with no fire.
Yeah.
I think for me, if we were to go for a centre back, there's a lot of talk of Milanovic from Fiorentina.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
He sort of like, you know, his fees between 25 and 30 million. And I think that kind of goes in with the budget that we'll be playing with at the moment. For me, I think the striker will come next year, because there's not a lot of strikers around. So I think that they will look at, like, you know, 51 million and look at Haaland. I think the other one is for a centre half, and I know I've had this discussion a few times about Sonoronchu at Leicester.
Soyuncu.
Yeah, but I think he's difficult to get, isn't he? Because Leicester won't want to sell to a rival, and it'll be a long-winded transfer.
Yeah.
That'll be all over the summer. So that's that one. But anyway, let's go on back to Sunday's game before we wrap it up. If I could have, say, your predictions, guys.
In the spirit of my 100% record, I'm going to go, and we're going to lose. We're going to get battered 3-0. Right, I'm putting it out there. We're going to get battered 3-0. Okay.
It could be very controversial, Nigel. And, you know, I hope you're only doing it to get comments after on the comments page.
No, genuinely. I'm expecting a good game. I think we'll come away with the points. I think we're nicely buoyed on by the City game, by the Derby win, and I think that's exactly the shot in the arm that we needed. I totally expect us to go out there and get 3 points.
That's fair enough. And Erroll, before we wrap it up, what's your prediction?
Depending on how they set out, if they come and have a goal, I'll go 3-1. If they sit in, I'll go a tight 2-1. So I think we're going to get the points. We need the points. So, yeah, let's go out and get them Sunday.
Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I think it's going to be a tight game. I'd go for a 2-0 victory. I'm just hoping they don't score first, because I think, you know, if they score first, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a tight game. But, you know, anyway, guys, that's the end of the Red Shirt podcast on this episode. So I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Erroll, and of course, Nigel. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
No problem. And I'd just like to say to everybody, keep safe, love football, and Nigel,
love life, love United, and keep that red flag flying, man.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.